Hey everybody, welcome back to AGA. Today we're talking about, as you saw in the thumbnail, well, we're actually going to talk about 7 of the 10 board games at Walmart that are actually fun. If you want to see the other 3, you can check out our, down here, we'll link it right here, or we'll put it right down here, something like that. It's really, or you can just Google it, best board games at Walmart that are actually fun, and then you put AGA and it'll bring it right up. There are so many games at Walmart. Most of them aren't fun, but some of them are. They're actually getting better. I don't know if you've noticed over the years, they've been getting better at getting some of the more popular, I don't know, a lot of the board games of the year.
Just better selection.
A better selection overall, less, only 5 variations of Monopoly and Yahtzee in several different varieties and stuff like that. They're actually getting board games that are worth playing and that are fun, which is great, but still there's a huge selection of ones that just aren't very fun. So today we're talking about those 10 board games. They're awesome, but it is something to remember because it's going to be, if you've seen some of our other videos, you're going to see some repeats, and that's because Walmart really only has grabbed some of the most very, very popular ones out there. But there will be some surprises, ones you've probably never heard of or that you've seen and never pulled the trigger on. And so let's get into it with the first one, and that is Codenames.
Yeah, we've talked about Codenames probably in a few different videos we've had.
Definitely, and it did win Board Game of the Year in 2016, I believe is what it was. That's the number I keep saying. I think it was 2016, but
but yeah, I mean it's definitely a good game. Very fun to play. Very fun to just kind of make fun of the other team you're playing against, and with the code words that they use, and definitely a fun game to play.
Totally. I mean, it's so, in essence, when you're looking at Codenames, right? We won't get into a huge explanation, but you've got words on cards, and there's 25 of them, 5 across, 5 down in this grid, and you're split into 2 teams. So it is a party game. You're split into 2 teams, and the teams have these leaders who are trying to give clues, one-word clues, to their teams to try to get them to guess the words assigned to them. Right, and there are other things like, there's a specific word that if guessed accidentally, you lose the game. There are other distraction words. If I give the wrong clue, the other team may take our words, or we may give the other team an advance on their words and stuff like that. So it's really fun.
There's one kill word. If you choose that, you automatically lose. So you want to avoid that word at all costs. But sometimes it relates to the words you're trying to get your team to guess, and so you have to avoid that word at all costs.
Yeah, and then in addition to that, it's one of the reasons we like, and you've heard this probably a million times if you watch any more of our videos than this one. We love games that are easy to play, as far as easy to learn and play, as far as the mechanics are concerned, but harder to play well, right? And this is one of those, especially for the clue givers, where it's just hard to give the right clues and get your team to guess it, because you only have one word on each clue. And so just a really fun one. And so that's one of the things we really like about it. It's simple, it's low key. You can play it without really being all that engaged if you're at a party and you're conversing or whatever, whereas you can snap right back into it and play. Okay, so let's get to number 2 without any further ado. Number 2 is a game that you've probably seen at Walmart, and that's because it's been around for a long time, and that's Wits and Wagers. I love Wits and Wagers because it's a boring trivia game turned fun. And that's because we've introduced betting, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is a game that I believe you got for Christmas one year, years and years ago.
A long time ago, yeah.
Probably back in high school, maybe junior high. A game we just, we didn't think much about it at first. And then as we started playing it as a family, this has become a game we play probably every year since.
Yep. And just as a fun, again, another low-key party game where, in essence, in it, you've got this little betting mat, and the game takes, I think it's seven rounds, where somebody will read a random question, some quantitative question that you have to...
Chances are you're not going to know the answer.
Right.
These questions are not meant to be known. Something like, how many chickens are eaten every year in the United States? Like, who in the world knows that?
No one knows that. So you're all guessing, but everyone around the table will guess on a little whiteboard, put it down, and then when everyone's guessed, you flip them over and you line them up from smallest to biggest, and then depending on where they're at, the odds get better if you take a guess on the outskirts, right? The odds go from 2 to 1 to 3 to 1 to 4 to 1 to 5 to 1 to 6 to 1 is the biggest one. And so depending on what it is, if you think, oh no, my guess is way out here on the outskirts, but I think I'm right, and then you eventually you read the answer after everyone's made their bets, and then whoever's right gets to collect a bunch depending on what the odds were. And so it's really fun. Nobody knows. That's why it's low key. If people knew, I mean, some people can get closer on certain questions, but generally speaking, nobody knows.
Yeah, nobody's gonna
and
know
so
this.
it's just this fun thing where it's like, oh, I think this, or man, my guess was way up. I'm going over here. And so it's just fun.
Yeah.
And so really good one. If you're looking for a party game that's low key, that doesn't take a long time to play, that would be another thing. It takes maybe 15, 20 minutes to play because you got 7 questions. So however quickly you want to do that. Again, another thing is that you could do 10 questions. You could do 5 questions. You don't have to keep to the 7 like the game says. So that's just one game that's well worth looking at if you've never played it, or even if you have, it's well worth looking at. Number 3. Number 3 is actually one of Phil's favorites probably on this list, or at least it is one he likes. He likes more than I do. I like it a lot. I don't mean to say that, but that is Chameleon.
Chameleon is just a fun game.
Yeah, totally.
This is a game that definitely a party game.
Just for those of you that have never even heard of it, the way that Chameleon plays, it's kind of a social deduction game where you're trying to figure out who is the chameleon. So everyone is given a grid. Cards are passed out to each player right at the beginning. Everyone's given a card, and on the card is this kind of code. Then you roll these dice, and depending on what the dice say, you look at the code, and then there's a card in the center as well that shows a bunch of different, like let's say movie stars was the topic. You got a bunch of movie stars on there, and then this code tells everyone, oh, we're talking about Will Smith here. Okay, so Will Smith, everybody knows that secretly. The chameleon is just given a card that says you are the chameleon, and they don't know the code. So they're looking at the card in the middle saying, oh gosh, I don't know.
So they're trying to guess. They still see the card that's in the middle, and so they know it's about movie stars, right? But they're trying to guess which movie star everyone else knows about.
And so they're trying to blend in like a chameleon. And so everyone's looking at it, and they're supposed to come up with a clue. I think it has to be one word. If not, we'll annotate below. But it has to be a one-word little clue that everyone goes through. And then when everyone's ready, they start with somebody, and they go around a circle, and everybody says their clue that has to do with that character. But they don't want to be too obvious. They can't say, well, I guess that's not a very good one, but because it's hard to come up with a clue that would.
Some movies, there's clearly one movie star in
like Hitch. Hitch would be a big one because Will
Independence
Smith's the star.
Day. Everyone is going to automatically think Will Smith,
and so
not Jeff Goldblum, not these other actors, right?
Right, exactly right. And so you want to be vague enough that the chameleon doesn't catch on, but specific enough that everyone knows that you aren't the chameleon. Because after everyone gives their guesses, you go around the circle in a quick succession 2 times. Then everyone sits around and says, okay, well, who's the chameleon? Who's the oddball out that gave a weird clue? And sometimes the chameleon guesses it completely wrong. They think, oh, they're definitely talking about Tom Hanks, not about Will Smith.
That's usually me.
And so they'll say something like Castaway. Castaway? Will Smith isn't even in that movie. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, you're the chameleon, and then you vote on it, and then they reveal it if they are.
And other times, like his brother-in-law, Lance, man, he is good at being the chameleon. Somehow he guesses right, and he can fool everyone in the circle.
Right.
Even when he's the first one to give his clue, and so. Yep,
and so it's really up to how well you can blend in by giving a vague enough clue, because you could say handsome, right? Okay, well, half the people on there could be that, and so then it's vague enough. But the problem is, if you're too vague, people are like, your clue is way too vague. I think you're the chameleon, right? So it's this balance you have to strike. Being vague enough that you don't give it away, because the chameleon has a chance to guess at the end, which is why you don't want to be too specific. But anyway, great game. Look into it. If you like those types of games, those types of party, social deduction games, that's one to look into. Okay, let's move on to the next one. The next one's far well known, so we won't spend a ton of time on it. Far better known, I guess is what I should say. And so we won't spend all that much time on it, and that's Ticket to Ride. So Ticket to Ride is probably one of the most popular games in the world. So in essence, what Ticket to Ride is a map of the U.S. or really whatever other variation you get, Europe or whatever else. and you're trying to connect with yourself on your turn. You're trying to connect from different cities, right? You're given these objectives at the beginning of the game. You can pick up more along, and you're trying to connect maybe from LA all the way out to New York, or LA to Miami, or LA to wherever, right? Albuquerque. And you have to use your trains that you have, a little packet of trains, and you have to get there. The problem is everyone else is trying to get all over the place as well, and so as people cross all over the place, they block your way, and you have to go around and whatever.
Yeah, it easily becomes really complicated
to get to where you're trying to go, and sometimes impossible to where you're trying to go. Mm-hmm. And so you get points if you complete your routes, you lose points if you don't complete your routes. But in essence, it's very, I'd say it's a pretty simple game as far as just nothing really to learn other than pick up cards, try to get to where you're trying to go.
Yeah, if you're not a big game board person, this is definitely a board game to pick up. It's very easy to learn, which is kind of our motto. Very easy to learn, but difficult to learn well.
Right, especially if you're playing with people that know how to play it and do well at it. So, want to look at. Okay, so let's move on. Blockus. Blockus is a game that I first saw. When I first saw, I said I don't want to play that game, which is not surprising. I do that with pretty much every
a lot of games like that
key game, and so, but I think it's a 4-player game. You could probably play with 2 as well, but it's a 4-player game. It's on this little tiny whiteboard that's a little grid. Everyone's given these tiny little weird pieces. They almost look like Tetris pieces, and you're all trying to work them in. But you can only touch corner to corner of your pieces, which we'll roll that in so you can see it. But everyone else, once you get to everyone else in the middle, because you're all on the same board, you can work into other people's shapes, right? Because they can only connect their own corners, and so there's going to be holes and gaps and stuff. And so you're working into the middle, and then you start working through everyone else's. Well, the whole point is the grid's not really big enough to fit all the pieces that way, and so the person to have the least pieces off the game board by the end, by the time there are no more moves, is the winner, and right? So you just count them, and whoever has the most pieces on, fewest pieces off, wins. And so very strategic, very hard to play well, but easy to learn. There's nothing to it. Hey, put it on there. You can only touch corners, right? But on everyone else's, you can kind of weave through their whole thing. And so very fun, way more fun than I thought. So if you see it on there and you guys like kind of more strategic games where kind of it rests on your shoulders to do well, there's no real luck for the most part in the game. Definitely want to look at. Yeah,
almost no luck at all. You just put your pieces, and the more strategic you place them, and try to screw over the other person, the better you're gonna do. So.
Yeah. So okay, so let's move on to the next one. What number are we on? 5, 6. We're on 6. This is one that Phil just recently said he hates. No, he doesn't hate it, but he doesn't like it as much as I do. Probably, because I love this game. Honestly,
I love this game too. It's a fun game. It's very simple. It's kind of like Scrabble without the Scrabble board,
which is Bananagrams.
Oh,
you never said it, so we probably should say it. So Bananagrams, yes, exactly. That's probably the perfect way to describe it. It's Scrabble without the board, but you're all on your own little board. So bunch of little tiny tiles, which will roll stuff in so you can see, and on each tile is letters, and so everyone takes, depending on the number of players, like 20 at the beginning. And you flip them over.
Yep, flip them over, and you just start creating words, and basically creating a Scrabble board right in front of you, where all the words connect. And so you just create one word,
web of words, really.
Yeah, and then you just create a web of words after that, and you're doing as many as you can, the quickest. And then as soon as you run out of letters to play, you say peel. Everyone has to take another tile, and continue creating the words as quickly as you can.
Yeah, so it can get complicated because, right, so if you've built your web of words of the 20 tiles you took initially, and then, obviously you say peel, you pull another one, and suddenly you get a Q. Well, now you have to work a Q into that web, so sometimes you have to kind of deconstruct your web and rebuild it in the way that you want to build it. Or if somebody else, like let's say he's saying peel, 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 and I have to keep taking and taking and taking, even though I haven't finished the ones I have already, suddenly maybe I have 30 and I only have maybe 10 of them worked in, and so I have to find out a way. Sometimes it helps though, because it gives you more letters and helps you do that. But it's really simple. I love this game specifically because
very simple.
There's just nothing to it, right? But you have to be creative. You have to create long words so that you can get other words built off of that. And you have to reconstruct and really think to build the web and be faster than everyone else.
And it definitely helps on your spelling on your your vocabulary.
Just creativeness in coming up with new words.
It's definitely a fun game. I do not hate it.
He hates it.
I don't. I don't hate it. It's just there are other games out there. Right?
Sure, yeah. And so, but that one's definitely one to look at. It was another one. I don't know what is wrong with me, but whenever I see a new game, I'm like, nah, I don't want to play that. That one looks dumb. And I don't know if it's the banana pouch that it comes with. I don't know, but
it comes in like a yellow
weird
bag.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to look like a bundle of bananas. I guess I don't know, but
I don't know.
Anyway, it's still really fun. One that I liked way more than I thought I would. So check it out. Definitely worth buying. Speaking of games that I initially looked at and said, I don't want to play that, the next one on the list is another one of those. I think it's every game in the world, but for me. But anyway, it's Zool.
There are some games that just look stupid. They don't look very fun, right? But then as you play them,
very much more fun.
Yeah.
And Bananagrams is definitely that. Azul, I don't know. I don't know if Azul looked dumb as much as, I don't know. It's more of an abstract game where it doesn't really have a crucial theme to it. Mm-hmm. And so maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But when I saw people playing, I was like, I'll give it a try, but I don't really want to. And then I loved it. Then we bought it, of course. It was Board Game of the Year in 2018 or something like that.
Yeah,
wildly successful. And in essence, what happens is it's like the stained glass of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, ancient churches and stuff, they use the stained glass. That's what it looks like.
And that's, so what you're doing is you're collecting these little tiles that represent the stained glass. And so the kind of the beginning game has piles of those in the middle, and you can take some, and you can take only one color at a time. So you take some, the rest go in the middle, this kind of middle pile in the middle, and then you put it on your own board. And you're trying to build it, and you're trying to put it on this little grid of your own. And depending on where you put it, when you put it, which kind you get different, varying number of points. And so it's just really fun. It's far more. It's one of the most strategic on our list. I would say Blocks is another one where it pretty much just rests on your shoulders. There's not a lot of luck other than kind of the random what you pull out of the bag and put in the middle for the next round. But other than that, it's pretty much whatever, however you play the game. It rests completely on your shoulders, but it's just really fun because it's very strategic, but it's maybe 30 to 45 minutes to play, and I don't know what it is. Something about little tiles. Good game pieces.
We've talked about this before.
Splendor's another one where the coins are really fun, and it just adds to the game. Azul's another one. I just love the little game pieces. They're really fun to play with.
They're heavy.
Yeah, so they feel substantial. They're smooth. They're really nice.
Yeah.
And just really, really fun. And so it adds to the game. The game itself is fun, and that certainly helps. And so well worth checking out. It's probably one of the more expensive ones on the list as well, but very, very fun. Okay, so that's 7 of the 10. We've reached the end. Hopefully that you guys kind of agree with us. We'd love to hear what you would think. If you would say, oh, you know what, here's some other games at Walmart that we think are really fun as well. We'd love to hear it. Obviously, this is pretty much just opinion. What we've seen at Walmart, what we really enjoy at Walmart.
That's more than just Monopoly and chess and all those other.
Those are classics. Games. They're fun, sure, kind of, but we like these ones much better. Yeah. We'd love to hear your feedback. Hopefully we've earned your subscription, so subscribe down below if you like to see videos like this and want to see more. Also show the YouTube algorithm that this is content you guys like and enjoy. I guess that's all we have. You got anything else?
No.
We'll see you guys next time.
See you guys.